Leftists are losing it right now, and their desperation is as comical as ever. But I got a question for them about this whole Project 2025 thing that none of them seem to want to answer. So if you're a leftist, stick around because I want to hear from you. So what these leftists are all freaking out about is they know that in a race between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, that nobody in their right freaking mind is ever going to vote for Dementia Joe. Just as nobody voted for Dementia Joe in 2020. And since they know that nobody's going to vote for Dementia Joe, they're desperate to try to convince people to vote against Donald Trump again like they did in 2020. Except they've got a problem. The things they convinced people to vote against Trump for in 2020 are no longer issues they can use to convince people to vote against them now in 2024. Just think about it. And while you're thinking about it, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons and ding that little bell thingy so that way you never miss more videos like this when I post them. Now, what are some of these things that they use to convince people to vote against Donald Trump for in 2020? His handling of COVID? Well, that's not a thing anymore. Not to mention the fact that in the end, he ended up being proven right on the whole matter, but we're not going to get into all that. So what else they got? Building the wall and protecting the border? In 2024, the majority of Americans see the border issue as a crisis and support increasing border security after the 3.5 years of Joe Biden's open border policies. Hell, Joe Biden himself even re-implemented some of Trump's border policies after mounting pressure against him. So that's obviously off the table. Well, what's one of these other things that they're railing against? His mean tweets? He doesn't even use Twitter anymore. Ironically, Truth Social has become like the perfect filter for his social media habits. Only the good posts make their way over to X, while all the other crazy things that he posts are relegated to only being seen by his diehard Truth Social fans. So that's no longer an issue either. And does anyone seriously think that they're going to convince people to vote against Trump's economy? For 3 years, it was the best economy many of us had ever seen in our lives. That is until Democrat governors shut down the country to artificially manufacture an economic decline in order to help Joe Biden win the election. But we all know that now, and to deny it would be willfully moronic. So what does that actually leave them with to convince voters to vote against Trump over? Honestly, nothing. Which is why they're resorting to good old-fashioned left-wing fear-mongering instead. And what have they chosen as their topic to focus on this time? Take it away.
New reporting today on a plan from President Joe Biden. It's a plan to tie Donald Trump to Project 2025.
Project 2025, and it is now bursting into public view.
Project 2025 is a MAGA world manifesto and a vision of implementing a startlingly authoritarian form of the U.S. government.
Project 2025 and the Republican plan to impose repressive measures on every single one of us.
Democrats have been shouting from the rooftops that this Project 2025 is a blueprint for Trump to gut democracy if he wins.
The DNC purchased 5 new billboards in Miami, tying Trump to Project 2025 today.
Project 2025.
Project 2025.
Project 2025.
Project 2025.
Project 2025.
The Project 2025 plan is not a game.
The current president, Joe Biden, just tweeted, Google Project 2025.
Project 2025. But it's really focused on, you heard about it. It's a blueprint for the second Trump term.
What is Project 2025?
Project 2025 is a 900-page blueprint for Donald Trump's second term.
That's right, a 922-page procedural script that allegedly outlines Trump's second term, except there's one problem. Donald Trump has already publicly declared that he knows nothing about its origins or who created it, and then he flat out denounces it. To which, of course, they have to come up with some kind of argument against that. So what do they claim? They claim that not only does he factually know all about it, but that he was actually a part of its creation. And why do they claim that they know this to be true? Well, because he's had past associations with people involved, of course. I'm not kidding. Check it out.
Put aside the fact that the theocrats behind this abysmal plan, which I agree with you on, worked for you while you were in office. And the fact that your literal press secretary can be seen filming recruitment ads for the group behind Project 2025. I mean, how gullible does he think the mainstream media are?
They love this argument so much that Whoever's running Joe Biden's official X account even shared it along with a screen grab of Trump's post, except they edited out the part where Trump denounces Project 2025. Gee, I wonder why. But I gotta say, this is one of the stupidest attempts to prove something I've ever seen in my life. I mean, think about it. What is it that they're actually trying to say? They're trying to say that if you know someone in one aspect, then that automatically means that you know everything about that person, such as what they do and other activities that they get involved in beyond your association with them. So let me ask you all something. How many of you know your neighbors or have a close relationship with a friend or a family member? I got it. How many of you know your parents? Okay, now, do you know what secret sexual desires and fetishes they like to play out in the bedroom? You know, the type of thing that they would never tell you about? No? You mean to tell me that you can actually know a person without knowing everything that they do or get involved in outside of the type of relationship that you have with them? Wow, that's amazing. But okay, we hear your narrative. You're sticking with the whole Project 2025 thing. Fine. But I got a question for all of you leftists out there regarding Trump's association with it. Never mind the fact that he's already been president once before and didn't do any of these things back then, despite the fact that Project 2025 has been a thing since like the 1980s, but was just under different names. No. We're going to ignore that little fact altogether. Here's my question. Are you suggesting that Donald Trump is the type of person who possesses the intellectual caliber necessary to have actually collaborated in writing this thing, or even possibly written it himself? Is that what you're suggesting? Or maybe you're not suggesting that he wrote it himself, but you're still claiming that he knows it inside and out and is completely intimate with it and is completely on board with it. If that's what you're suggesting, then are you saying that he possesses the intellectual acuity and superior attention to detail and focusing skills necessary in order to thoroughly read and fully comprehend a 922-page boring-ass procedural script that would put a normal human being to sleep? Is that what you're suggesting, that he's like supernaturally smart? Or is Trump the idiotic moron who can't even figure out how to tie his own shoes in the morning like you've been claiming he is for the better part of the past decade? Which would also mean that you would have to believe that he's too stupid to have been involved in this whole Project 2025 thing. So which is it? Is he super smart or just really dumb? Because you don't get to have it both ways like we get to have with Dementia Joe. You see, we get to say that Joe used to be smart and corrupt, but now his dementia has since made him dumb. Y'all, on the other hand, y'all don't get to say that about Trump because y'all spent far too many years claiming that he was dumb to begin with. It's like y'all want to say that Trump is smart enough to implement some kind of evil mastermind scheme now, but was way too dumb to ever be able to do such a thing back then. I mean, what is this, like some kind of reverse dementia or something? Because I don't think that's how it works. So which is it? Is he super smart or really dumb? Let me know your answers in the comments. To those of you who say he's too stupid, therefore by default admitting that he couldn't have had anything to do with the creation or understanding of this whole Project 2025 thing, thank you. Thank you for admitting that, and thank you for admitting that all of your fear-mongering has been nothing but just another left-wing lie. The truth shall set you free. But to those of you who are finally admitting that he's much more intelligent than you ever gave him credit for before, I got another question for you. One thing that the left and the right can absolutely agree on when it comes to Trump is that he's probably got the biggest ego any person has ever had in all of human history. Am I right? We can all agree on that, right? I mean, yeah, I know Dementia Joe's kind of giving him a run for his money right now by refusing to step aside, but we can all still agree that Trump's ego is pretty freaking massive, right? Okay. With that said, do you really think that his massive ego, an ego that's quite possibly the largest ego ever to exist in a person, would allow someone else's plan to supplant his own Agenda 47 plan? I mean, that would require Trump to have to admit that someone else's plan was better than his own, meaning he'd have to admit that someone beat him. Does that sound like something that Trump would do? Trump admitting that he lost something? I think not. which really leaves all you leftists with only one option left for you, which is having to admit that you really don't know what to think about Trump, but you're still willing to share anything negative that you come across about him, despite how hypocritical it makes you look, simply because you just really, really hate him, which is fine. If you hate him, you hate him, but just say that. Your reasons for hating him might be faulty, but there's nothing wrong with admitting that that's really all your posts are actually about. You just hate him. But just be honest. That way people like me don't have to come on here and make videos like this making you look like an absolute idiot. But with that admission, let me just remind you of your old slogan that you used to run all over the place with not so long ago. Love Trump's hate.
What's this?
Talk about it.